Hello everybody, Demon Rebist here, trying to do a shortish video as a bit of a guide for anyone that wants a bit of help around Fuji short for the DGT League Anniversaire d'Historique race around here in the Mazda 787. Gotta say, great car on a great track. The combo of these two is fucking brilliant. Now, having said that, some people may struggle around this particular track. What I will say is, if you have an off or you hurt your tyres, you overheat them, you are going to have to be careful for a lap or two. For example, if you have an off at turn 1 here, run wide or spin, your tyres are going to suffer for grip for the rest of that lap. So you need to do whatever it takes to stay on the track so the tyres can clean up and get the temperature into the working range again. So you may find that you have to brake earlier and things like that. Now, the information I'm going to give out on this particular video is it's relevant to not having anybody in front of you. So what I will say is, if you do have somebody in front of you, then you are going to need to brake a little bit earlier than I'm going to show here, and things like that. So the speeds may differ a bit, but we'll see how we get them. All right. First things first. Obviously, I'm on in-car view. It's the view I like to use. You don't have to, but the references that I'm going to give are what I'm using on this view. I will say as well, around this particular track, I'm finding having the brake bias towards the rear, about 3, it gives a good balance of feel and grip through the stiff. Okay, first thing I'm going to tell you is, out of the pits, you can brake just before the white line that goes across the track to make the corner. So just before that white line. If you go beyond the white line that goes across the track, you're probably not making the corner. Okay, turn 1 I'll talk about when I get to it. Turn 2 I'm going to be approaching in 3rd gear, and for me, when my windscreen wipers line up with the cone of the corner is where I'm turning in, so starting to turn in. It's about the 50-metre marker board, right? But I'm not looking up at that, but for your reference, it's about a 50-metre marker board. This corner is not flat out. You will have to lift somewhere, so if you have a car in front of you and you are catching it up rapidly on the way into this corner, you may find they're going to be coming out of the corner faster than you are. Don't get too greedy about trying to sneak up the inside. The crucial part is to be in a good position on the exit of the corner to be able to move over to the right, be on the brakes very hard, very early, 100 metres for a 2nd gear left-hand corner. And once you've got around this corner, apex even, when you go on the power, you want to be able to stay on the power. If you're having to come off, it's because you're going into the corner too fast and going into the corner too deep. Okay, so you may get caught out thinking you're really fast on the way into the corner, but you're slow on the way out. Okay. Flat out round the kink. Okay, down here, I'm going to go from 4th gear, and I'm going to be using 2nd gear, and I'm kind of winging it as to where I turn in. For my view, once the end of the wall on the right is just about to go out of my view, is around about where I'm starting to turn in. So that's pretty much going to be alongside the 50-metre marker board. So the wall's now out of view, but the 50-metre marker board is there, look, above the D. So I'm turning in at about 50 metres. I am going to take a lot of the curve here, but you've got to keep at least 2 wheels on the curb. Now I'm using 2nd gear there for stability over the course of a stint and to keep the minimum speed above 100 mile an hour. For this corner, start braking at the start of the curb. Don't push it too hard in here. Fucking noisy bastard car. second gear corner. Make sure you are at the apex just after the cone so that you can then get fully on the power. You do not want to be over on the left. We're going to be hammering second gear around this corner. We don't need to change gear now, but at the end of the curb on the left we can lift off, gently apply the brakes so that we can take that wide turn in. End of the curb we're turning in to hug the apex curb, still in second gear, and we're flooring it out. Be careful of the rear getting a little bit loose on exit. Final corner, still staying in second gear, over towards the exit curb, on the brakes by the white line, turn in by the end of the curb, and that's what will give you a decent exit line out of this corner. Right, I'm going to jump back to the pits because my tyres are fucking stone cold, and I'll try and talk that again, but much quicker. Okay, so out of the pits, I always like to try and find where can I brake, so in the race I know where I can brake. And it is just before the white line, as I said. Okay, so we're going to hold third gear, work our way over to the edge of the track. About a turned in too late. So I was looking at the 50 metre marker board. We're just before the 50, we turn in. And as I said, around here, we want to be in this position so that we can straighten up the approach to this corner. And once we've hit that apex, on the power and not off again. If you're having to come off, you're going in too fast or getting on the power too soon. Up to fourth gear, dab of the brakes. Plenty of curve, get it above 100 mile an hour. Gently on the brakes, stand to second gear, get by that apex curve, hold second gear, off the power, gently on the brakes, tuck it into the curve, and then on the power again. Let the car move out wide, turn in at the end of the curve, and then we can be on the power nice and early. And again, once we're on the power there, we don't want to be coming off it. If you're having to come off it because you're going to run off the track, you're taking too tight a line into the corner. Okay, down this straight, stay in fourth gear. And I'm going to brake just before the red and white curb. Now I've got a little bit wiggly under braking there, but I'll come to that in a minute. So hold third, bit of brakes at the 100. A lot of curb taken there, perhaps a bit too much. Okay, I'm going to lift off before the shadow and feather the throttle so that I can tuck in. Hit the brakes at the 100, down to second gear. Don't get greedy on the way in because now we want to be full power. Okay, I'm not braking hard for this corner, by the way. Brake at the start of the curve again. I'm not braking hard. On the power, off the power at the end of the curve, gently on the brakes. And the reason I want to be gently on the brakes through these corners is if I'm hard on the brakes, I'll be applying a lot of brake pressure while the wheels are turned. It's not going to want to slow down. It's going to want to lock up and go straight on. Okay, you may find that even in slipstream here, stay in fourth gear. Don't go up to fifth unless you're about to bounce off the limiter. Okay, going to brake just before the curb again. But this time, brake, weight, shift, and the car was much more stable under braking. So not braking too soon, making the rear end lock up. Now some people are going to go into this corner as fast as they can, get to here and go, shit, now they're off the throttle, and they've heated up the tyres, so now they might not have the grip into this corner. Not the fastest way to do it. Now you can take this corner down here in third gear if you're more comfortable with that. Me personally, I'm just more comfortable knocking it down to second. Okay, I'm going to take the tighter line here to show. I can't get on the power yet. Now I'm on the power. But let's have a look at what that does to the sector time. Temps gone, 4 temps gone. Okay, I've braked at a similar point as I did previous laps, but my tyres have got a bit of wear on them, so now I'm struggling to brake on that absolute limit. On the power. As soon as I'm on the power, we'll stay on the power. Okay, I'm going to sort of come to a stop down this main straight. Just before turn 1. Okay. For many of the times that we've raced around Fuji, the braking point has been somewhere around about 150 to 200 meters. This car though is an absolute beast, right? So you don't want to be braking massively too soon, especially if you've got cars behind you. Ideally, you want to be braking at around about the limit every lap. Now, obviously, if you get in slipstream, you're going to have to be cautious, you're going to have to be careful. But I am going to try and show a couple of the things that I am trying to look at or do when I'm getting down into the braking zone. Right. I'm just letting the car roll on. So, because just about here on the left, excuse me, is where the white line on the left of me goes from sort of narrowing the track a bit to then going straight. I've mentioned that on previous videos. It can be a handy place to brake sometimes. That's what I've pointed out. It's about 175 meters. I'm only pointing that out now because that's not the braking point, but you can use it as a get ready point, because it's very easy to approach this corner and lose whereabouts you are. So a few things to look out for is the end of the pit wall, the red and white hatchings. If you see them flashing past you, you know the braking zone's coming soon. If you then see the kink on the left, or even the pit exit white line, that pit exit white line is going from the right hand side of the track towards the left, and where that then starts to go straight is around about the latest possible point you can brake for turn 1 if you're on the inside. So, and that's like as a one-off kind of thing. You have to be so careful if even if there's no cars in front of you. So they're the things that I'm looking at as I'm approaching the corner. Now, where I'm going to want to try and brake in qualifying, because I'm not going to give a shit about the tyre wear, I'm going to want to push it to the absolute fucking limit if I can. I am going to be braking around about here, and I am going to bang those brakes on, and I'm going to keep them on full until I'm pretty much at the apex of the corner. Okay, excuse me. Now, the way the car's going to behave itself going into the corner in qualifying is down to how I'm going to do the downshifts. If I brake weight shift, I should be okay. If I miss the apex, it's because I've braked a fraction too late. In the race, I can't brake here. Well, I can, but probably only once on brand new tyres, it's a massive, massive risk, because the amount of time you would gain by braking this late, you will lose more at the corner by not making the corner. So in the race, I will be taking a little bit off it. It's not a lot, but it's going to be around about here. So, yeah, so I'm going to be sort of off throttle and slowly onto my brake pedal, but it'll be around about this point. So it's not like I'm going to be an immediate switch from throttle to brake at this point. It's going to be off throttle, perhaps a tiny little bit of coasting, and then on the brakes fully, just to give me the balance and the engine braking and things like that. And this should just happen to be very close to the kink of the pit lane white line. Nearly. It's there. Right, so yeah, it's like literally just above the numbers of the timing there. So as I mentioned, the kink in the white line is pretty much the latest braking point for turn 1 if you're on that inside line. Why is it a little bit earlier? Because you'll need to slow down more, because you've now got a much tighter corner and you're on the dirty side of the grid, so it's not going to want to slow down for you either. Combine those few things together and you'll find that you're not going to make the corner. Now, people are still going to get it wrong. It's so easy to do at this track, in traffic, and things like that. Well, like I said, you can lose so much in this corner by missing it. But what I would say is be very, very careful though with braking way too soon for turn 1 here. Okay, I am going to try and show that braking point down into turn 1. I may also try and show what happens if you are braking too late at this corner, and the difference to what that'll do with the throttle application. What I will say is, as I fuck up, let's go that way. I was looking at the amount of brake I was using, that's why I ran wide. Excuses. Yeah, feel free to have a look at how much braking I actually apply. So don't be afraid of rewinding this to look at how much brake I'm actually using for each corner. Right, okay, turn 1. So if we're up the inside of someone, or we're in that slipstream, we're pulling out, red hatchings, pit lane, kink, and I'm happily making the corner while able to leave room on the outside of the track. Get off the throttle. I was on throttle a little later than I am normally, but I had to get off it again because I was going to run wide. Now I used a lot more brake there than normal and actually went slower through the corner. You don't need to use a lot of brake through these sectors. The other thing you want to try and do as well is in that final sector, as you're getting to that point of making that final sort of turn in towards the apex, you want to be off the brakes at that point. Downshifted a little too soon. Probably braked a touch late. That'll have cost me a bit. So even though I've got a little bit of a tank slapper on there, I'll still full throttle. Right, check out the amount of brake applied. Slightly offline there. So that slightly offline's cost me quite a bit. Right, I'm going to brake a touch earlier for turn one. I'd say that was quite early actually. I mean, it was a safe early. If I was on my own around the track, not a problem braking there. Too much curb. Now turned in a touch too soon there, which led me to believe I was on a nice line for the corner, but once I was on the power, I was just running out wide. Okay, well hopefully, if you're having trouble around this track, in this car, some of the stuff I've mentioned there will help. Now I haven't shown about driving off the racing line through the final sector here, because I would not recommend it. I mean, let's put it this way, if you are attempting overtakes through the final 1, 2, 3 corners, even if you achieve them, chances are you're going to lose the positions down the main straight. So you'd be much better off staying on the racing line, keeping your tyres clean, being as quick as you can be, putting plenty of pressure on that car ahead to see if they go defensive or make mistakes or push their tyres too hard, and then you can attack them down the straight. Makes sense. Right, I look forward to overtaking you all in the final sector. Have a good one everybody, and I'll see you all again soon.